afternoon, my friends. This is Paul, and today I'm going to be reacting to the September 2022 Nintendo Direct. And because I've improved my editing techniques ever so slightly, we're also going to have footage of the games that I like being shown. So hopefully you'll get more visual variety. Now, just in case you're the type that needs a one-sentence answer and you don't want to hear my detailed thoughts and everything and just click out, I personally believe this direct was kind of for me, except for the start and the end. Both of those were phenomenal, but everything else was either okay or like downright terrible. So, just a disclaimer, I am only going to be talking about the stuff that interested me. Anything else that I had no interest in is just simply not going to be talked about. So if you want to hear a full, comprehensive overview of every single game in the direct, there are other YouTube channels out there. I'm sorry that I can't be all things to all men, as St. Paul says. That's a discussion for another day. So let's start out with how the direct opened with Fire Emblem Engage. Now, you all know that I am a huge Fire Emblem fan. I have played and or owned and or beaten every version of Fire Emblem to be released in North America to date, including all of the Virtual Console ports and that terrible Shadow Dragon demake on the Switch and both versions of Tokyo Mirage Sessions. I even had Fire Emblem Heroes for a little bit when my ex-girlfriend let me borrow her tablet. So this was hugely exciting. It's nice to know that now this is I think this is the second direct in a row where Nintendo opened with a Fire Emblem game. So it's nice to see such a niche franchise being put into the open and more mainstream like a Mario and Zelda game. And I thought it was cool that they're drawing from heroes of the past and that I saw Micaiah on there. You know, Micaiah's from Radiant Dawn, and boy, does that game need more love. I thought it was neat that the graphics were a pretty neat step up from Three Houses. Still a bit too cartoony for my liking, but at least they edge more on the style of Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn that I really liked. And it seems like the battle animations are much smoother while still feeling cartoony at the same time. I liked that balance there. And hey, if they can get Ike in, then I'll be really happy. And I hope that games like these will help make Byleth and Smash sting a little bit less in retrospect. That maybe people nowadays or in the future can look back at the negative reaction to that reveal trailer and say, man, you guys were a bunch of babies. Byleth is amazing. Next up, we have the Fatal Frame remake, which was a Japan-only Wii game that's now being remade so that it looks more like Maiden of Black Water, which originally came out on the Wii U. No word yet on whether there's going to have a physical release or not. Either that or the Direct didn't make it obvious. I played a little bit of Maiden of Black Water on the Wii U, and I thought it was pretty decent. I just got stuck at like Chapter 2 and didn't know how to proceed further because the game just hit me on this wall that I couldn't figure out how to get past. Not only that, but when you play it on the gamepad alone, a lot of audio is missing, so I'm glad that the Switch, having only one screen, will allow me to play the full experience. Again, assuming it's rentable, because I am not going to pay full price for a Nintendo-published game, and I don't really have the money to pay for most games to begin with at the moment, so here's hoping Christmas comes along. Next after that was the expansion pass for Xenoblade Chronicles 3. And I had mixed feelings about that because I love Xenoblade Chronicles 3, but I also didn't want to pay for a Nintendo game. However, if I had Xenoblade Chronicles 3 as like a Christmas present or I had the DLC given to me as like a gift card or something, then I would be happy about it. Because it seems nice that we're getting new heroes. I liked that element of Xenoblade 3. Challenge battles, those got a bit annoying in Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. And swimwear, like, okay, I get that bathing suits aren't inherently sexual, and these ones definitely looked like they were more on the modest side of things. But I feel like that's not how the majority of the Xenoblade community is going to take it. Because Xenoblade Chronicles 3, one of the best things about it was that it was very gender neutral. Not to say that they didn't have genders, but like, for example, early in the game they had a mixed bath scene. And yet, if you were like blind and just listened to the audio, you probably would not be able to tell that it was a bath because they didn't make any sexual perverted comments. Most of the characters were dressed in really respectable attire. And overall, I think it was one of the least sexual RPGs I've ever played, besides maybe Paper Mario 1. And putting in the swimsuits might cause a couple of people to say, they just couldn't resist dipping their toes into Xenoblade Chronicles 2 water. I do think they were, again, more modest. Two out of the three girls were wearing one pieces, and the one two-piece that did exist looked like it was more closer to like shorts and a higher fastened top, so that's pretty decent. I don't think I would go out of my way to buy just that pack of DLC. I would want something substantial if I were to really jump back into that game. Next up is Theatrhythm Final Barline, which is the next Theatrhythm Final Fantasy game. I remember greatly enjoying both Theatrhythm games on the 3DS, and so seeing it come back on the Switch is something I didn't think was possible because it just seems like it was tailor-made for the 3DS and the buttons. But if they can make it work, then that sounds great. Especially if they have songs from Final Fantasy VII Remake, because man, that game's soundtrack is amazing from what I've heard. I watched Marco Meatball's video on reacting to their new version of One Winged Angel, and my gosh, I was blown away. I was like, why couldn't we have that version in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate instead of the MIDI original and then the overly rockish version from Advent Children? So here's hoping for the best. Here's hoping Neo The World Ends With You gets some love in there because that's also a Square Enix title, and Curtain Call had The World Ends With You music in there. Apart from that, it's another rhythm game, and I don't really play too many Final Fantasy games, but if it has cool orchestra pieces, then that'll be good enough for me. Hey, Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory made my best games of 2020 list, so I'm not completely averse to rhythm games getting that high of a spotlight. Next, we have Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope, which is a game that was already announced, and we already had a release date, so this felt kind of pointless to me. I was like, I'm already going to play it. Why do you need to show it again? I like it when Nintendo Directs reveal things, as opposed to just giving more confirmation about things we already know. And it didn't really say a whole lot besides that it looked so much uglier than the first game. Like, this feels like it's kind of like a tech demo. So either they're going to do some major graphical touch-ups later on that we just don't know about, or something happened in development. I don't know, maybe COVID protocols held it back or something, but man, this game looks rough. It looks like it could have run on the Wii with its graphical capabilities. Then again, the music sounds really nice, and it's great that Rosalina is in a rabbit form. I wonder if we'll see the real Rosalina, and the Lumas take on a more prominent role. So you know how much I love the Super Mario Galaxy games, so that is great. Side tangent, do I look like I'm tired? Because I keep seeing these weird circles below my eyes. Either that or I'm getting old, and so I'm starting to have wrinkles already. Next up, they had more N64 games as a highlight, and I had mixed feelings on this. On one hand, I have a lot of nostalgia for the old Mario Party games, and that's why I loved Mario Party Superstars so much, was that it took some of the best elements of those N64 games and like modernized the controls and the graphics while still keeping that old rule set without doing all of the innovations that Super Mario Party had. And so it'll be nice to be able to see the origins of a lot of that stuff that I've forgotten about over the years. And also wonder how they're going to censor those control stick rotating mini games, because the reason Mario Party 1 has never been re-released is because there were certain mini games where the instructions literally advised the player to put their palm of their hands on the control sticks and rotate it like this. And it caused kids to get blisters on their palms, and so enough parents complained to Nintendo that they were forced to issue free gloves to those families. I was one of those unfortunate souls that had a blister on my hand, and let me say, it is not fun to pick things up after that. I don't know how Nintendo's going to get away with it because they're reselling Nintendo 64 controllers that work with the Switch Unless they just did a different padding on those new N64 controllers, because I would not want to see them face another lawsuit again. But yes, this is the first time Mario Party 1 and Mario Party 3 are being re-released in any form, so it'll be nice to see all three. There's a couple of N64 games on there that I've never played, such as Excite Bike 64, Pilot Wing 64, and the two Pokemon Stadium games. I know I'm not normally a Pokemon fan, but I tend to like the Pokemon spin-offs more than the main game. So maybe this one will turn out to be great. We'll see. Next, they showed DLC for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Only 2 tracks, though. It usually comes with 8. And it looked considerably better than the other 2 waves. I still haven't seen enough to say if it's on par with the base game yet, but it did look like they're bringing back the trick ramps from Mario Kart Wii, and there's actually a retro course that has anti-gravity, so that's cool. Peach Gardens, it could have looked better, but then again, maybe once I see the whole course, I'll change my mind. I just know that I really liked how it looked in Mario Kart Wii, and if they can top that, then it'll be up to snuff with how it looked like on the Wii, or how the main game looked like on the Wii U, so that it can truly feel like, hey, these are DLC tracks on the Switch, and they're so much more powerful, which has not been the impression I've had so far. Then we have Master Detective Archives Rain Code. Now, the only reason people are excited about this, or at least 99% of the people that are excited about this, is because they also like Danganronpa. And boy, can you tell it was made by the same company, as even some of the musical undertones have that Danganronpa theme in it as a leitmotif. I have loved detective games way before Danganronpa or Zero Escape came out. I remember adoring the Ace Attorney games, and when I first saw gameplay of Danganronpa, I was like, oh, that's like Ace Attorney, but more stylized. So this is like Ace Attorney, but more stylized as well. And so I think I'll probably rent it for that sake. Hope it turns out better than World's End Club, because it looks rough. But Spike Chunsoft games are known not so much for their graphics, but for their stories. So if it delivers in the story front, I can probably overlook it. Next, we have Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe. I certainly did not expect that game to ever be remade. But it looks worse on the Switch. See what I mean about saying that every game had a catch? The thing about Return to Dreamland is that at the time it came out, obviously the Wii was an underpowered console, but there hadn't been a side-scrolling game in so long for the Kirby series that people just said, oh, it looks so much better than the old games because the last one was like on the N64, I think, was the last core 2D side-scroller before that, so it looked good by default. But now that it's in HD, you would have thought it would have maybe used the Star Allies or Forgotten Land engine, but no, it has this really weird cel-shaded style that looks like a 3DS game, honestly, and I actually thought it was going to be a remake of Kirby Battle Royale when I first saw it. So, ugliness aside, I hope that they managed to fix the collectible system, because that was the thing that annoyed me the most about the original Return to Dreamland, was that there were so many things that would require you to reset your progress. And I forgot to mention that in my Forgotten Land review, but I didn't like the fact that some challenges let you reset, but some didn't, and so you'd have to like deliberately jump over the edge or restart the whole level if you wanted to get the collectibles, and that just stunk. And I'm surprised that HAL has only sort of taken a half step. But it'll be fun to try that game out again. I never did a video review of the original Return to Dreamland, so you still have to watch that in all of its Paul's face glory. So hopefully you won't have to see that in the next one, especially if I am developing eye wrinkles. And finally, we got a title for the newest Zelda game called Tears of the Kingdom. I'm going to have to get used to that because we've been calling it Breath of the Wild 2 for like, I think it was announced in 2019, so for 3 years we've been calling it Breath of the Wild 2. And now all of a sudden it's called Tears of the Kingdom. Now, I have heard some people say that the title is really unfortunate because it just so happened to be revealed a couple of days after the passing of Queen Elizabeth. So, my condolences to anyone directly affected by that. And just know that I didn't mean any insensitivity when I was talking about this game. Looking aside the unfortunate naming, they didn't show anything that really blew my mind Besides that, it looks like you can choose whether Link has his hair in a ponytail or flowing back like mine, which that's a nice touch. And it looks like he might have a mechanical loft wing. I mean, it did look like it was doing a lot of callbacks to Skyward Sword, so maybe that's Nintendo's way of saying we are going to redeem that game ever so slightly. So what do you guys think? What were your thoughts on the Nintendo Direct? Were there games in there that I missed? Were there games in there that I liked that you also liked? Share with me your thoughts in the comments, and until the next time, keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Bye!